Okay. So warm greetings and good evening to everyone present today, and welcome to day 2 of the Global Leadership Dialogue. And today we have the delegation from the Netherlands with us, and on behalf of the Confederation of the Indian Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, I extend a warm welcome to our speakers, Mr. Jan Jodema, Ms. Olga Zelina, Mr. Dimitri Derkak, and Dr. Irina Bierman.
Yes.
And also a cordial welcome to our Indian speakers, Mr. Ashwani Kumar and Mr. Neeraj Mitran. And also a cordial welcome to our council members of CIMSME, the entrepreneurs, and the other participants. My name is Mishma Stanislaus, and the Global Communication Head of CIMSME, and I take great pleasure in moderating today's event. So to tell you a few things about our organization, the International Council of Technology, Management and Applied Engineering is a registered non-profit organization in India, and it has also been registered in the USA and Spain. And the Confederation of the Indian Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, CIMSME, and the Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade, GCPIT, are units under it. So the Confederation is a business of over 9,000 plus entrepreneurs, and it is a network to educate, transform, to inspire, and offer invaluable resources in the form of national events, leadership development programs, an online entrepreneur forum, and executive education opportunities for personal growth as well as professional growth. And you all can agree with me that this pandemic has called us to move towards a collaborative society in order to sustain the post-COVID world. And as our initiative is to replace competition with collaboration and strengthening ties with other countries, the CIMSME is organizing this Global Leadership Dialogue, which is a series of talks with 30 plus countries. And in our effort to achieve this, we are here with the delegation from the Netherlands today. So before we move into the core of the event, I would like to dot a few things about the relationship between the two countries. So the Indo-Dutch contacts goes back to more than 400 years. And since the early 1980s, the Dutch government has identified India as an important economic partner. The bilateral relations underwent further intensification after India's economic liberalization in 1990s. In terms of trade and investment, India has strong economic interests in the Netherlands. There are over 200 Indian companies operating in the Netherlands. And likewise, the Netherlands have emerged as the third largest investor in India in 2017 and 18, with investments valued at 2.67 billion US dollars, and across a variety of sectors, such as services sectors, trading, automobile industry, fermentation industries, chemicals, and water treatment. It was the second largest destination for foreign investment by Indian companies. And during the last financial year, the total bilateral trade stood at 12.87 billion US dollars. And the Netherlands was India's fourth largest trading partner in the EU. Apart from the trade, the two countries have signed over 30 agreements and MOUs. So with such great history and resourceful collaboration, we could only hope that today's event will further strengthen the ties between the two countries. And with that motivation, I welcome our first speaker for today, Mr. Jan Jodema, who will talk about the investment and the trade opportunities in the Netherlands. So Mr. Jan holds a bachelor's degree in business and MBA in marketing, and with over 20 years of experience in marketing, sales and business development for high-tech products and services. He is the head of Invest Utrecht that supports foreign investors throughout the process of establishing businesses and fostering growth in the Utrecht region of Netherlands. They have already drawn more than 1,000 cutting-edge international businesses into the region. He is also a B2B matchmaker, bio-entrepreneur, the CBO and founder of VivalMix, an institute that works towards better drugs faster with focus towards biotech and pharma. And he is also an all-round professional with a passion for life sciences and a drive towards collaboration and commercialization. It is a pleasure to have you with us today, sir. So over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Great introduction, by the way. You do me much too much honor. Just in the start of the presentation, what I would like to relate to is that I represent the Utrecht region in the Netherlands, which is the center part of the Netherlands. But when we are talking to an international audience, we always address this as Invest in Holland. So in this, what we do is we represent all of the Netherlands and we represent all of the regions. So what I'm going to tell you is in a number of big sentences, basically, is that the Netherlands is the place to be to do your international business if you want to look at the European market. And there's quite a number of good reasons for that. And obviously, I'm going to tell you now, but I'll provide you with some background later on in the presentation, because it's always better if somebody else tells your message than yourself. I think one of the big advantages now in the Netherlands is that contrary to other countries which we shall not name, the Netherlands is and will stay part of the European Union. So that makes that it's very easy to address the whole of the European market from the Netherlands. The Netherlands particularly has a very big strength in logistics, so from freight, but also customs onwards, and also from a personnel standpoint. So if you really want to target the European market, we see that there's quite a lot of international organizations that set up their business in the Netherlands because of the ease of travel. Schiphol International Airport is in the center of the country and half an hour from the city of Utrecht. So it's very easy to travel. There's a big inflow of talent. So especially a lot of international students are coming in, and the students from the Netherlands itself, obviously. It's reasonably affordable, and it's one of the most innovative countries in the world and in Europe. By showing this first beautiful picture, there's a second one coming on, and this is some of the background for the stuff that I told you a bit about already. That's the IMD Competitiveness Index from 2019. Because, as I said, it's always better to have somebody else tell you the story that you're trying to sell than to tell the story yourself. And it has something to do with the most competitive countries worldwide. And this is a very complex IMD comparison for a lot of different factors. And what you can see is that the Netherlands is one of the most competitive countries in the world. By the way, if we look at the European overview of most competitive regions in the European Union, the Utrecht region has scored in the top 3 of the most innovative and most competitive regions in Europe 3 consecutive times. What are the main attractiveness factors? The high level of education, the skilled workforce, the infrastructure. So that goes for everything. It's about the infrastructure for travel. It's roads, it's airports, it's railways, but it's also the whole digital infrastructure. Then there's a very strong stability in policy and predictability, an open and collaborative nature for collaborations, and there's a very business-friendly environment. Well, the World Economic Forum had something to say about that as well. So they also rank us very high as one of the most competitive economies. The overall scores in the European countries, we score very high, and the best infrastructure worldwide. So for us, it's as a trading nation, and we have been a trading nation for centuries. We all know that you are able to attract great talents, but also you are able to attract funds, and you are able to attract people if you make it easy to travel, but also if you also make it easy to transport your goods within the European Union, but also worldwide. So obviously, we have Amsterdam as our major city. Also, at the same note, the most expensive city. But that goes for all the capitals in main countries, I would imagine. Rotterdam main port is the #1 port in Europe, and somewhere second or third worldwide. And as I said, also the whole educational system, and also the opportunities for collaborative R&D, they are very, very big in the Netherlands. Well, transport infrastructure is obviously, because a lot of the goods that are coming in Rotterdam port are transported to other countries in the world. Language skills is very high, so it's nice to be in the UK, because the idea is that in the UK everybody speaks English. I think that if you look at this very closely, in the Netherlands it's only 96% or so. So if you speak English, you will probably never learn Dutch, because everybody speaks English back. Then something about the talent competitiveness. Talent obviously is very important, and if we look at what Indian companies typically do when they set up their business in the Netherlands, is that they come over with 1 or 2 people that set up the business, maybe a handful more, and it doesn't take them long to build out and find local talent. And the local talent obviously is very important. Since the Netherlands is so easy to reach for a lot of people, it's very easy to travel. It's also very easy to attract talent. Digital skills, I think, especially with the introduction of internet here from a very early moment on, a very fast internet, that also builds average digital skills that you cannot teach in school alone, but that also starts when the kids grab the iPads and start working on things. Numbers of days that it needs to incorporate a company. I'm not going to get in detail because it's going to be addressed later on, but it doesn't take you weeks to set up your business. It's only a matter of days if you prepare the stuff correctly. But it's very fast setting up a business in the Netherlands. Something about the quality of internet, because obviously that is going to be one of the key factors also for potential growth in the future. I think almost all of the Netherlands has internet connections. A lot of cases it's glass and not copper, and it has the world's fastest broadband speeds. 5G is being rolled out now from the center part of the country to the other parts of the country at this point in time as we speak. Something interesting for companies that want to bring in goods from, let's say, from India to sell on in the European Union. One of the big advantages of setting up your operation in the Netherlands is that with customs, you can make an arrangement that the moment your shipment comes in, it can be stored in a closed warehouse, and you only pay the VAT and the export levies the moment that you sell it on to another country. So as long as it's in your storage, you don't pay taxes on them. Well, then there's something that I think the people that are going to address tax can be much more in detail about one of the advantages of doing research and development in the Netherlands is that on the one hand it will be supported by government. So government has a number of grant schemes in place to make sure that the cost of R&D will be, let's say, a very tax you will have great tax benefits on. And also, if you register IP in the Netherlands, one of the big advantages of doing so is that it's very well protected. And the other part of that is that if you want to sell or out-license that IP to a different company, then you only pay a very low tax amount about the income that you derive from that IP if it's generated in the Netherlands. For expats, there's a special regime. So it's called the 30% ruling, which makes sure that the additional cost that expats have in being in a foreign country, that it will be compensated by a reduction of tax on their income of about 30% for a period of 5 years. And that is obviously always interesting for somebody that will be living and working in the Netherlands. Well, something about Utrecht region. As I said, Utrecht region is the center part of the Netherlands. Not that big. It's around 1.6 million inhabitants. Very centrally located in the Netherlands, most competitive region, and we have 1,000 foreign companies in the Utrecht region already, where we find that for a lot of them, they are either attractive to the the combination and the central location because it's easy to attract talent, also because it has all the benefits of a big city like Amsterdam, but for a lot less of the cost. And to travel from, let's say, Amsterdam or Schiphol Airport, it's half an hour from the central station of Utrecht to those destinations. So it's a very attractive environment, and it has also a very active Indian community in Utrecht already. Well, this is the spot. So Utrecht is very centrally located in the Netherlands. By the way, to put everything in perspective, to travel from the western part of the country to the eastern part of the country will take you about 2 hours, and to travel from the southern part to the northern part of the country somewhere like 3 hours. So that's about the time that it will take you to cross through Mumbai, I guess. So that's also to put in perspective that it's a relatively small country, because I can tell you we have traffic jams, but nowhere as bad as in Mumbai. But so here also the picture that it's very well connected with these yellow dots. They show the train stations. So it's pretty good traveling so far. I think I've already gone through the presentation as a whole. Let me just explain a bit about what does Invest in Holland and what does Utrecht region do. What we can do for an Indian company that wants to orientate themselves in the Netherlands is that we can have a one-on-one talk with the people from the company, discuss what they are looking for, what sort of information they are looking for. We have a lot of that information we have available that we can put out into an information package. If you want to come over and visit the Netherlands and have an idea about, well, what is it all about? we can organize a fact-finding trip, as we call it, for, let's say, half a day or multiple days, if you like, where you can address all the issues you would like to know, because I would imagine that it would be interesting to talk to a specialist in the field of employment law to understand, if I employ somebody here, what are the conditions. Same goes for taxation. Same goes for setting up an entity in the Netherlands. You want to know what the consequences are. One of the things that we always inform companies about, and especially companies from India, but also from China and also from South Africa, because all these countries, they have some issues with getting a bank account. So it's not more complicated than in other countries, but I must say that if you want to set up a bank account in the Netherlands, it's very wise to start that immediately after incorporating the company. So it takes some lead time, because we have to comply to, well, some of the US federal laws that are in place, but also the laws of the European Union that are very strict on banking rules, and especially about knowing who is behind a certain entity. So they have to really look into to the details of the people behind a certain company. It's not very complex. It just takes a lot of time to set up something like that. So what do? We assist you in finding the right places and finding the right people to advise you. We show you where there are opportunities to find, let's say, office space, or maybe a lab space, or business space. No problem at all. We can do that. And all the activities that we do are free of charge to the company and are confidential. And I think that's where I would like to leave the presentation for now.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I see the participants are really interested, and I have a lot of questions. So I will take a few questions for now. So the first question is, what is the market for blockchain or machine learning and AI in the Netherlands?
Well, I think it's as big as it is in all the European countries. Obviously, all of the above are points of interest for companies, also for governments. The Netherlands is not the biggest market as a whole in Europe. There's markets that are bigger than the Netherlands, but as I indicated, it's very easy to do business through the Netherlands to all the other countries. Also because we are considered to be quite neutral, and it's easier to let's say approach the German or the French market from the Netherlands than it is to approach those markets from either the German or the French countries. I know that with all the activity towards higher personal security, but also company security, also with the generation of data and the intelligence ways that you need to get the real information from that data, the market is very big and it's only going to grow. But I think it's not specific for the Netherlands. I think for a lot of the Western countries are just big growth markets for all of those sectors.
Okay. And what is Netherlands' take on the opportunities available for plastic components?
Oh, that's a good question. I have no idea.
Okay.
It's probably going to be. It's probably going to be. There's a lots of opportunities there, but I couldn't answer that question specifically.
Okay. So I think we'll go to our next speaker for now, and we'll take up further questions later once you're done. So thank you so much, Mr. Jan, for the valuable information. And I'm sure it's given us a lot of reasons to choose the Netherlands as our destination to expand our business. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We will now go to our next speaker, Mr. Dimitri Derkat.
Yes.
who is an international. Yeah. So Mr. Dimitri is an international tax specialist, and he will talk with us about the tax aspects of investing and running businesses in the Netherlands. So Mr. Dimitri is a member of the developers team at Best Financial Friend. His primary focus is on corporate taxes in the Dutch, international, and EU context, with a secondary focus on indirect and individual taxes. He has worked with clients from multiple countries, assisting with their projects in over 60 jurisdictions. His special work interest in the last years was on multinationals from Russia, Ukraine, India, Kazakhstan, and Portugal, investing in the Netherlands and broader in the EU countries. And the industries therein ranged from oil and gas, retail, mining, IT, FMCG, and private equity. He was the international tax advisor and director to PricewaterhouseCoopers in Russia and in the Netherlands. And part of his regular job is interaction with the tax authorities in respect to tax rulings, procedures, and appeals, and on occasions with the Dutch Ministry of Finance and Dutch courts in respect of required matters. It is a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Dimitri. Over to you.
Yes, thank you very much for this introduction. Just to say, there was one thing not mentioned, that now I'm an independent consultant. I have worked in the Netherlands for the last 12 years, and I hope I can share some of my experiences. I terribly apologize for the connection, because at least I cannot see myself, so perhaps you may not see also myself, as somehow the signal today is not that great. But I hope you can all see the slides and you can hear what I'm saying. Please feel free to have your questions, and I will be very happy to answer them. The Netherlands, unlike India, is a unitary country, and that's why, let's put it that way, there are no separate states that will have different sorts of taxations. Although, kind of, if we're talking about that's if we're talking about the European part of the Netherlands. That's why overall the tax system is unified, and you will not see a particular difference in taxation in one part of the country or in another part of the country. From a standpoint of the businesses, the most important taxes are probably the corporate income tax, the value-added tax, wage taxes and personal tax, withholding tax, and EU customs duties. From the standpoint of corporate income tax, the companies which are resident in the Netherlands are taxed on their worldwide income. But when we're talking about worldwide income, the Netherlands has a long history of trying to be neutral from the standpoint of taxation of businesses and capitals. And that's why the Netherlands has over 100 years, or maybe even 130 years, of a system that would exempt capital gains, dividends from qualifying investments, as well as it would also exclude the taxation of the business profits from foreign permanent establishments. So in other words, if there is a Dutch company that has branches in France or Germany or in other countries, it will effectively exclude results of those branches abroad. As for the rate, you know, the Netherlands is probably not in the lowest bracket of the rates yet in the European Union, but definitely there is a tendency for decreasing the corporate income tax rates. And as you can see on the slide, the first 200,000 are taxed at 16.5%, and it will be taxed at 15%. And there above, it's taxed at 25%. And as of the next year, it will be 21.7%. You may think that this is quite a significant burden on the businesses, but at the same time, you will understand that essentially it's not. And if you look at the budget of the Netherlands, you will see that the budget is not filled in with corporate taxes, but mostly it's filled in with personal taxes or with value-added taxes. That's just to show you that the government is thinking about how to make doing business a more convenient and comfortable place. And also to show you as an example, the Netherlands has 17 million people living, and there are approximately 2 million 2 million entrepreneurs. So you can imagine that if doing business was so complicated, half of the, or not half, but a quarter of the economically active population would not be engaged in sort of business. Also, it's important to understand that coming back to the tax system, that some fiscal consolidation is possible. So between different companies within the Netherlands, it's possible to consolidate results of plus and minus. The transfer pricing rules are compliant with the requirements of the OECD. Generally, most business expenses are deductible. However, there are certain rules in respect of the interest deduction, and they are quite complex. For the rest, the Netherlands is indeed looking at the essence of the expense and not so much at the, what is written on a piece of paper or whether there is a threshold for that. The losses of the businesses can be carried back 1 year and can be carried forward for 6 years. And currently, it doesn't matter whether the losses come from, let's say, financing activity or from holding activity or from operational activity, which is a good thing. Special innovation regime is in place, and I think that Jan before me already touched upon it. Here you see the rate, the effective rate of 9%, but actually this year it's 7%. But I thought that it's very difficult perhaps to be able to apply for it this year. That's why I put already the 9% rate. And just to finish the part of the corporate taxes, the Netherlands has a very broad network of treaties. It has a treaty with India. As probably you read, India for a number of years was trying to to renegotiate the treaty with the Netherlands. However, with the adoption of Budget 2020 in India, the discussion about the change of the treaty slightly subsided, in my experience. Another important thing for businesses is value-added tax. And Jan before me already mentioned one of the big advantages of, let's say, doing business in the Netherlands and importing goods through the Netherlands. But just to explain to you, because the value-added tax system in the Netherlands works differently than, for example, the GST system in other countries, like in India. From a standpoint of philosophy of VAT, the VAT should be payable only by the final consumers. And the final consumers can be individuals, these can be businesses, that can be NGOs, that can be public bodies. So those who are not participating in another VAT taxable activity. However, if you have a business that is participating in, for example, trade or in active consulting or in some other sort of business, essentially VAT should not be a cost for you. Moreover, as mentioned by Jan, indeed, in the Netherlands, you can postpone the payment of VAT on the importation of goods, which is definitely a big advantage from a standpoint of cash flow. And in cases where the companies should self-assess VAT on, for example, services acquired from abroad, it's also possible not to pay it first in budget and then reclaim it from the budget, but to claim in one tax return instantly plus and minus, which results in no cash flow out. Value-added tax, also quite often people ask, is it difficult to have special invoices or something indeed, in the Netherlands is one of the most liberal, I think, in the European Union requirements in respect of the administration, and the e-invoicing is allowed. However, of course, there should be certain things indicated, like, for example, VAT numbers and some information indicated, but there is no just form number 351 that you would need to follow for your invoice to be correct. The invoice may look slightly different. The frequency of VAT returns is once per quarter. However, certain companies request, for example, monthly reporting periods. And finally, VAT consolidation, the same as fiscal unity for corporate taxes, is also a possible thing, and quite often an attractive option for companies that have more than one entity in the Netherlands. From a standpoint, what I told you, the personal taxes are actually the biggest contributor to the budget of the Netherlands. And if I'm not mistaken, the budget is almost 300 billion euro, which you can imagine is quite a big budget for a country of 17 million people. So that's why the taxes on employment income are quite high. And as you can see, the progressive tax rate can be 37% or almost 50%. However, as already mentioned by Jan, there is a regime which is called 30% ruling, and this regime allows expats coming from outside of the Netherlands, or certain Dutch citizens also coming and hired from outside of the Netherlands, to enjoy that regime that excludes part of the profits and essentially boosts the income of expats. Plus, it allows to relieve certain other things from taxation. Finally, in terms of other taxes, the Netherlands has been one of the most liberal countries in terms of the withholding tax. And withholding tax on dividends is 15%. However, a full domestic exemption exists for such tax. So, for example, for an Indian company investing in the Netherlands, if it has more than 5%, then in most of the cases, I would expect that the dividends will be not subject to taxation when paid from the Netherlands to a corporate entity in India. And it's quite a simple system and very convenient. It's much simpler than even what is proposed in the 2020 budget in India. At the same time, the Netherlands, after probably 100 years, is introducing a withholding tax on interest and royalties, and that will be charged only in the cases where the payments are going to related parties located in blacklisted jurisdictions. Fortunately, the list of those blacklisted countries is quite short. That's why, and India is not there, so it's absolutely fine to to pay royalties to India. There is no withholding tax on active income, services, technical services. There is no withholding tax on the remittance from a branch to the head office. So if Indian company has a branch in the Netherlands, there is no withholding tax on that payment either. In respect of the customs, which is probably the last part that I want to say, the Netherlands is a part of the customs union. So the European Union has a standard system of tariffs, which is absolutely the same in any country. Certain rules may be different, like, for example, what was mentioned in respect of the payment of VAT and the moment of payment. However, from a standpoint of, let's say, customs, you will see on import of goods to the Netherlands, you will see the same tariffs if you would import it into France, Italy, or any other countries. The advantage here is that the Netherlands is a no-nonsense place. I think that from a tax standpoint, that's all I wanted to say within 20 minutes. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to take them.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We do have a question for now. So the question is, what is the taxation work required for service industries?
Well, the service industry is taxed absolutely in the same way as any other industry.
Okay.
The only difference is that, of course, if there is an innovation part within the services, then the part of income that is attributable to that innovation may enjoy, let's say, a better treatment, plus, or not better treatment, but effectively a lower rate of 7% or 9%.
Okay.
Another thing, as I mentioned to you, what I didn't mention, sorry, is the green incentives. So if the services are within the, let's say, the green industry, there may be a certain incentive and advantage there as well.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for making such a complex matter and explaining it in layman's terms. And we will take more questions on the legal works and also taxation after the next speaker. But before that, a note to the participants. I see a lot of people repeating the questions. We have taken down the questions and we will take it up at the end of, all the 4 speakers. So please wait. And moving on, our next speaker is Ms. Olga Tselina. So she will share with us the legal framework for setting up businesses in the Netherlands. Ms. Olga holds a bachelor's in law from Moscow State University and master's in law from the John Marshall Law School. And she is currently a lawyer and commercial director at Residence Corporate Services, which is an independent and management-owned trust and corporate services company based in the Netherlands, specializing in providing management, domiciliation, legal, financial, and licensing services to internationally operating clients seeking corporate presence in the Netherlands. So welcome and thank you for being with us today, ma'am. Over to you.
You're very welcome. So we will start the presentation now, yeah?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Before the slides arrive now, yeah. My presentation, before I start presentation, I will talk a couple of it about myself. I am a lawyer, but I'm owner of the Residence Corporate Services as well. And today my presentation will be about Dutch companies, especially holding companies, because it's very popular, and why and how. No, first of all, because my previous speakers already talk a lot about the benefits of Netherlands, so it's non-tax aspect. So, but I can briefly repeat for you understanding, because it's excellent reputation. We have good location. We have the very, very good airport, who is actually connected all world, and Port of Rotterdam. Good advanced modern legal system, economically very good, stable, and as you see, well-organized infrastructure, as already Jan said, and cost-efficient, of course. And the Netherlands by itself very good for not only for the holding companies, for the joint ventures, and to establish Dutch holdings as in the independent jurisdiction, as Netherlands is. About our company, Residence Corporate Services, it's a, as you can see, it's independence and management boutique, trust and corporate services company based in Netherlands. It's specializing, as you can see from the presentation, in providing management, domiciliation, legal and financial services to internationally operated businesses. Who is the clients of Residence? It's like public and private companies, could be private equity, and as well as the individuals and families as well. Residence Corporate Services operated in regulated market under the license granted by Dutch Central Bank. So this is like the proper trust company with the licenses from Dutch Central Bank and the regulatory bodies of the Dutch trust industry. There is the three partners. I'm told you already that I'm owner, and there is two more my partners. And we have actually, my background is, I used to work in a Dutch tax firm, and my partners is one is had the background of accounting from the big trust company, and another one is the legal as well. So this is approximately introduction of our company. Let's go to the next slide. And next slide is the actually services what we can offer to you as a client. So first of all, we're doing after receiving the tax advice, which Dmitry already told about it, we assist with company incorporation. Then company incorporated, and it could be done actually in one day. Nowadays, with notary, if all document is provided, we provided domicile for the company, so we gave the company register address and postal addresses. Also, we provide the director or personal managing directors to the company. We support with legal and corporate secretarial services. We are doing accounting and administration services. And of course, nowadays is very important word is a substance in Netherlands. So we are providing services related to increased substance in Netherlands. Let's do the bit of practical. How to start in the Netherlands. If you want to organize a new Dutch company, first contact us and discuss. We want to hear what is your businesses, what is your plans, and what are you looking for in the future. After that, of course, we need to do the compliance, which is second very important words nowadays, and we will identify the ultimate beneficiary owner or the top entity. We will ask you to provide some documents, and we will check them, and then we can go to ask for the tax advice, or we can do it before, so we can do it simultaneously. After the client acceptance procedure, like we call KYC, we can incorporate the Dutch company. We can do full coordination. Incorporation actually doing the notary, but we do the full coordination, or open the bank account, and that's it. Your company is ready for transaction. If you already have the Dutch company and you want to change the provider, you don't like how your current provider, you're not happy with him. So what you can do, you contact us, and we just can transfer the management to the residents as well. Now this is in a short, how we operating and how we doing business with our company. Any questions, you can contact me with email or telephone. We will be very, very happy to answer your question now and later in the time. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Olga. So I have two questions regarding legal framework. So either you or Mr. Dimitri can take it.
Okay.
So the first question is, what are the regulations for importing food products to the Netherlands?
Oh, Dmitry. Yeah, this is actually what is the regulation for important food products. I think it's a question for the Dmitry, because, yeah, even not to the Dmitry probably,
Yes, the thing is that, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Yes. The Netherlands is similarly is a part of the European Union. So the food regulations that exist for the European Union are mandatory in the Netherlands. And that's why, of course, there is a question about not only the, let's say, the importation duties, but also the quality. The Netherlands is quite keen on green production. That's why not only from a standpoint of the European requirements, which are quite high in terms of the pesticides use or herbicides, the Netherlands also internally wants to consume products of high quality. That's why I think that these two things, the regulations of the customs union and the let's say the European regulations for the importation of food products, it's one thing, and the second thing is that the market wants to consume things of high quality. So I don't know if this answers the question, but that's what I can.
Okay, so we have a very similar question, but it is regarding the apparels and personal care sector. So what are the regulations for the same?
Excuse me, personal care sector?
Yes, personal care.
You mean the medical?
No, the
personal
cosmetics.
care like cosmetics and apparels, yes.
Well, I would not
Clothing,
know
yeah.
the standards, unfortunately.
Okay, okay. So we have another question, which is if they form a joint venture with a Dutch company, what will be the taxation on the Indian holding? If we form a joint venture with a Dutch company, what would be the tax on Indian holding?
Excuse me, the connection broke.
Yeah, so the question is, if an Indian company forms a joint venture with a Dutch company, what would be the tax on the Indian holding?
Well, the joint venture, in principle, joint ventures are taxed in a similar way. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry,
Can't hear you.
yeah, we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I then I understood. If the joint venture is incorporated in an incorporated form, then it's taxed in a similar way as any other company. But as I mentioned, the be without withholding tax. If this the
Yes, we can hear you.
okay video the of dividends from the free of charge. So not so that means that if there is a joint venture between an Indian company and a Dutch company or a Dutch individual in the form of a Dutch entity, this entity will be taxed in a similar way as any other entity. There will be no separate regime or special zone or anything else. It will be taxed similarly. And the dividend taxation, the dividends, so profits after tax, with the distribution to India will not be taxable at source. The interest paid to India will not be taxed at source. Royalties paid to India will not be taxed at source. Services paid to India will not be taxed at source.
Okay. So thank you, Ms. Olga and Mr. Dimitri, for giving us a better understanding of the legal framework in the Netherlands. We will now move to our next speaker, Dr. Irina Bierman. So I would now like to call upon Dr. Irina to discuss about the cluster formation and the challenges that arise with its internationalization. So Dr. Irina attained a PhD in economics from the Central Research Institute of Economics and Exploitations of Water Transport in Russia. And she is currently the director at STRUMI BV, which is an international B2B and B2C development consultancy with an extensive expertise in EU and Euro-Asian region like Russia, Belarus, Georgia, and Kazakhstan. STRUMI provides a link between the Dutch and the international experience in investment management and the initiation, development of technology and innovation. Their customers come from across the corporate and financial industry, representing private capital, investment firms, successful entrepreneurs, funds, financial institutions, and corporations. Dr. Irina is also an advisor to the regional presentation in Benelux and France Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Russian Federation. It is a privilege to have you with us today, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm ready for my presentation. Please show
Yes.
my slides.
Yes.
And I'm happy that your organization invite us to present this nice.
नीचे गई थी पापा जी के साथ ही नीचे कैसे गई
Hello.
1 minute. Mr. Ashwani, please, can you mute yourself?
Okay. Can I continue?
Yes, you can go ahead,
Yes.
ma'am. Sorry.
Yes. I would like to tell you about my own experience in the Netherlands and how to establish your company here and how to have a great benefit to present in this nice country as the Netherlands. I came to the Netherlands from Russia 2008 and I am already more than 11 years here. 2012, I established my own company, STRUMI BV, in a local chamber of commerce of trade in Netherlands in the Hague, Den Haag, we called it by Dutch. It's true that Netherlands it's the perfect place to start your business because English here it's everywhere. And with Dutch language, it's so difficult to learning. That's why all people here around is international people. It's a lot of expats and you can speak English easy. Company STRUMI developing business here more than 8 years and 2018 we start our new tools as a magazine, Innovation Media. These magazines, you can see these magazines in this slide, in me, help us to attract and expand a lot of business in Netherlands from Eurasian countries as Kazakhstan, Russia, and we are happy to expand with you, Indian friends. Next slide. You can see top sectors of the Netherlands, which you can reach via our IMMI network. It's agro and food, it's horticulture. Horticulture is the first place in the Netherlands. This greenhouse value in the Westland, it's near here by my office. It's a huge model of new city, sustainability and healthy food for everybody. That's why horticulture is a big potential to explore innovation technology for all world. Netherlands business proud of these horticulture sectors. Logistics, yes, as was mentioned by my colleagues, logistics, it's Rotterdam port, Amsterdam port, and it's developing. For example, with our company 2013, we developed a huge project with Russian railways from Rotterdam to China. It was a very interesting project, but then came sanctions and we finished this project. But now, from China is going train to Amsterdam and then to Antwerp. It's a huge possibility for businessmen to carry their trading goods to Netherlands, not only by sea, also by train. Regarding this pandemic situation, it's really first topic of top sectors, it's life science and healthcare. Yes, Netherlands now is concentrate to developing this sector, and India with huge digitalization of healthcare service. You are welcome here. You can explore your business with new supporting from government of Netherlands, with subsidy, with foundation from European Union. Don't forget that European Union Foundation also working in Netherlands, and you have reached a lot of support from European Union financial system too. Green and smart city. Also, this pandemic show us that people have to care of the smart and green city. We have to live in a sustainability society. We have to think about our food. We have to think about our life. That's why we have to develop new green cities. And this is also in the list of top sector of the Netherlands. Energy. Yes, oil and gas present here. Rotterdam is the hugest port of oil and gas delivering port. But Netherlands now developing sustainability and energies such as sun energy, wind energy, and also earth energy. We would like to invite you to our study tours. I will tell you about this a little bit later about study tours. But energy is the first topic of Netherlands as a sustainability energy. And of course, water. Water is a hot topic in Netherlands because Netherlands is a country already 400 years engineering of Netherlands developing projects with water. And our king, Willem Alexander, he is as an ambassador of water sector. And Netherlands engineering and companies, it's over the world working with the water projects. And we know that India can use Dutch innovation technology and also can share with your innovation technology here. We are greeting Indian small and medium business now, and we would like to show how is developing small and medium business in Netherlands. And you can see that 99% of business in Netherlands is small and medium business. And sometimes you can see that micro business, 1-2 persons, family persons, it's 95% of Dutch business. And this slide, you can see regarding figures of the economical developing of these companies, and it's a huge amount. 2019, foreign people, international companies came to Netherlands, and it was 397 companies. It was established new companies here in Netherlands. They created more than 14,000 jobs in Netherlands. For these small countries, with population only with 17 million people, 40,000 from international companies, it's huge amount. And you see what was investing of these 397 companies. It was 4.3 billion euro investing. It's a great job of Mr. Jan, investment of Holland, because they attract these companies to Netherlands. And it's really nice possibility for Dutch government because these companies will create for Netherlands new jobs. And with this new recession, it's very important because it's investment in this small country, but it's also investment in the world. Netherlands clusters. I would like to stop in this slide because it's very interesting developing in Dutch top sectors. And of course, it's logistics, of course, it's food sector and chemical sector, and of course, it's the digital sector as a Brainport and Hoven. We located in the south of Holland, and we present more 5 top sectors as logistics, agro and food, and green cities. This is more our concentration top sectors, and of course sustainability, energy. I would like to say that all international business have a problem with, of course, with visa. And to facilitate this visa, Dutch government decided 2015 to open new possibility for international business, and they created new law for startups. It's new and it's working now. A lot of international startups come to Netherlands to facilitate their startup visa, and for 1 year, and they can start their new business here in Netherlands, and also they can create their idea as a reality. For that, in Netherlands we have special accelerators. In this picture you can see a very nice accelerator from Rotterdam, Erasmus accelerator, and these experts from Erasmus accelerators help people to start their business here as a startups. They attract investors, they help startups to include in special pilot projects with corporatives, companies of Netherlands, and also these new ideas with new business can immediately go to the market if this idea is ready, because Netherlands have all possibilities for startups. Netherlands now is a new startups value of European Union. It's #1. Our magazine provides service for international companies to go to this ecosystem of startups. We are talking about innovation of Netherlands, and also we attract foreign companies to go to this ecosystem of innovation. We would like to show via our magazines that it's a lot of possibility for foreign companies to really start their business with benefit. You can find our magazine online, it's free, and you can introducing with Dutch innovations, you can introducing with possibility to how to connect via our network with Dutch companies, because it's your future partners, and it's of course your customers. If you come with new IT products, if you come with your service of healthcare, you will find these partners. Nowadays, it's most important to be partners, not as a seller. Seller is not attractive now, because partner can give you more possibility. It's first of all, it's comfort for life, because consumer now looking comfort for life, and of course comfort to doing business together. Our project in innovation media working in different levels. It's government levels, it's innovation startups, and of course entrepreneurs. We have webinars, we have events, we have study tours, and of course we have our magazine as a platform, and you are welcome to show Dutch people your products, your innovation via our magazine. What we are also doing, we can provide service to Dutch media market with your companies. We can tell about your company, about your products in a local market, media market, via Dutch newspapers, via Dutch magazines, and we, as a mediation, we connect Dutch journalists with your products, and then all Dutch customers will know about your products in local newspapers. Of course, it's networking via events and webinars. These 3 months, what was with virus pandemic, Netherlands was closed, but it was very actively job via internet. And we connect Dutch people with Russia, we connect Dutch people with Kazakhstan, and we are happy that we connect Dutch people now with India. 2019, it was full events. Dutch people love events. They love to go to network on offline. They love to speak with people face to face. Last year in October, we organized a big international forum in Den Haag by top level with Prime Minister of Netherlands, Mark Rutte, and Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, and 300 Dutch entrepreneurs come to this event. We would like to share with you knowledge of Netherlands enterprises. We would like to share with you experience of Dutch business. That's why you are welcome with our study tours. 3-5 days in Netherlands, and you will understood what is the culture difference, how to be really flexible in this European business doing society. We can help you to connect with different industries, and also we can help you to connect with your future partners here in the Netherlands and also in Europe. Because we as the Netherlands, you are really easy to go to Germany, you are go to France, you are go to Latin America, because Rotterdam is the port of connection America and Europe. And here my partner, business partner of Frank Donkers, he is redactor of the Innovation Media, and you are welcome to tell your stories about your innovations for Dutch people. You are welcome to share with you with your companies developing and what you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the great presentation, and you've answered a lot of questions to the presentation. And I especially like the magazine part, which I think opens a lot of opportunities for MSMEs to showcase their business. So now we can have like a panel discussion, because I have got a lot of questions. So anybody from the delegation of the Netherlands can take up the questions. I'll just stop the presentation. Yes. So the first question is, many have asked, what is the scope for organic spices and organic food in the Netherlands? So anybody can take the question.
Yeah, well, depends on what is the scope, obviously. I think that spices, you know, as the whole world and also the people eating more internationally, and I can say there's quite a big market for Indian food in the Netherlands.
Okay.
Although it never tastes like it is in India, but I think there's quite some opportunities. As made clear, there's European rules for importing that. There's a very big food sector. I think the Netherlands is the #2 exporter of food in the world, so it's a very big business. Obviously, there is a Wageningen University that is famous for its research in the food industry. There's also quite a lot of players, so market parties in there that could also do the distribution. If people have very very specific questions in that field, we can assist that. But in Invest in Holland, there's a specific group that works on agro-food, so agri-tech, but also the food industry, and we can direct the questions to them. So if you are able to, let's say, amass those questions, so we can respond to people, that would be great. But yeah, the scope is a bit, it's a bit of a very general question.
Yes.
It would be better if it were a bit more focused. And if distribution for that is an issue, within Invest in Holland, there's an organization called the Netherlands Distribution Council, and they assist foreign companies in organizing their logistics towards Europe. So they represent a lot of companies that are active in all forms of distribution and logistics, and they can make a made-to-measure package, whether you're a very big transporter of goods or a very small transporter of goods. And if you want to have that wide dispersed about Europe or just very focused, they can make a made-to-measure package. So also that we can address.
Okay. So the next question is about the agribusiness opportunities, especially in the Utrecht region.
Probably be helpful if I have the mic on, right?
Yes.
Well, the Utrecht region is one of the regions in the Netherlands, so there's quite a lot of food research going on. So there's programs, obviously, working towards healthier foods. There's what we have specifically in the Utrecht region, and Wageningen is just south of the Utrecht region, but we consider that more or less part of that. If you're in the food and agricultural sector, but also in the food processing, Wageningen is probably the best research part where you can find that. And if it's a combination of food meets human health, so where you really have something that also has a foodstuff that also brings some health benefit, then Utrecht probably is a better place to be, because there's a lot of research in that field going on within the University Medical Center here.
Okay. Next question is, what are the best industries for the export and import opportunities?
Well, I think the best thing is always to have a good product. And where I see a lot of opportunities is because the fact that obviously the Netherlands is a very highly educated country, more on the high end product development. So for IT, I saw a few questions in the chat going on. So a lot of stuff in IT. And obviously IT is everywhere. So that's artificial intelligence, but that's also programming. That is hardware. It's services. It's everything. And we see a lot happening also in the life science industry. So there's quite a number of successful Indian companies that we attract in the life science and health industry as well.
Okay. So I will skip the questions on the IT since you've already answered that. So what will be the ideal time taken to set up a company in the Netherlands?
The microphone should be on.
Sorry, Jan. Yeah. I could take this question, and I would say that I already told, if the all required document is provided, it could take actually 1 day.
Okay.
To incorporate the company here.
Okay.
But if all documents needs to be provided here.
Okay. So one of our participants is curious as to how the Netherlands is managing during this pandemic. So what are the challenges faced by the health sector right now?
Shall I try and answer that? One of the specialties that I have as well is the life science and health. I think one of the big issues in this whole pandemic was the lack of resources, and I'm not talking about drugs or that sort of stuff. That is something to be conducted on a very different level. But basically the safety stuff, so the safety goggles, the mouth masks, stuff like that. And what I think is interesting is that a lot of companies, but also governments are pushing that now, especially governments within Europe. They don't want to be dependent on suppliers that are that are a few continents away.
Okay.
So whether that goes for Chinese manufacturer or manufacturers for India, I think within Europe, there is now a big opportunity, because everybody's looking again at supply chain issues. And I think there's a big opportunity either for European companies to set up that sort of business in Europe, or for companies that are specialized in those sort of products and that are in different countries to set up a manufacturing line inside Europe as well. So I think that's one of the main things that we got out of this whole pandemic, and of course a very big inflow of a lot of funds to develop new vaccines.
Okay, we have another question. So probably Ms. Olga or Mr. Dimitri can take this. This is, what are the support provided by the Dutch government for real estate agencies, foreign real estate agencies?
I'm not sure that
Connection is
that
Yeah.
there is a particularly support for foreign real estate agencies. The real estate market is quite developed. There are lots of players. There are big players and also big players from the US coming. I see that, and on the speculative part of the real estate, but also currently a big part of the properties are being acquired for further. One can add here.
Okay, I think the connection is really bad at Mr. Dimitri's end. So, okay, we can go on to the next question. So one of the participants is asking if one can create a company with one of the EU member countries. Can they operate all over Europe?
I didn't hear the question.
If we create a company in one of the, say, for example, in the Netherlands, can they also operate in the other EU countries?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
So that's a straightforward question. I'd like to have
Yes.
more of those.
Okay. So, what are the top sectors which are good for investment in the Netherlands?
It's agro and food, of course.
Agro and food.
Yes, and medical. Now it's healthcare.
Life, yeah.
Yeah, because it will be huge developing in this healthcare industry. Yes.
Okay. And another question is the market. I think sir already addressed, but what is the market like for the digital transformation platform? I mean, everybody is going digital these days, especially with the pandemic. So what is the stand in the Netherlands?
Yes, it's quite developing here. It also depends of industry, of digital industry. For example, in Den Haag, in The Hague, we have quite interesting security delta, which developing of all of security regarding hackers, regarding blockchain, and also games here.
Okay.
Utrecht region is quite a big games industry, and India, Dutch people prefer to establish also companies in India. Bangalore, it's a huge city of IT development. And of course, here in New Zealand, we are looking for good developers, for good IT engineering people, and now it's a big opportunity with online connection. That's why it's easy to connect with Bangalore, for example, and doing business in Netherlands. Yeah, it's a lot of open opportunity now for India here.
Okay, so I'll end with one last question, which is quite straightforward, sir. So can you give us some of the products you'll import and export, so that gives an idea to our participants to know the business they can focus on? So some of the products you'll import and export.
Yeah, what we've seen in export is that there's quite a big export in the field of chemicals and food from the Netherlands to India.
Okay.
What I see from the companies that are located in the Netherlands, I think the majority would be IT-related companies. There's some life science and health companies in there as well. I think that, you know, because of the distance between India and the Netherlands, it should be high. It should be high value. It should be high value products. And what we've seen as well is companies in the medical device field. So, and what we and there, one of the complexities is that companies are usually looking to set up a facility in the Netherlands where they can send the components and do assembly, so that they ultimately can sell the product to the rest of the world as being made in Europe. And there are opportunities for that.
Okay. So with that, I think we've come to the end of the first part of today's event. So again, on behalf of CIMSME, I would like to thank Mr. Jan Jodema, Ms. Olga, Mr. Dimitri, and Ms. Irina for being with us and sharing with us all these information. And we still have a lot of questions, which I'm sure they will ask you maybe through the investholland.com. And we'll also we'll stay connected through LinkedIn. So we'll move to the next part of the event. So now I would like to call our Indian expert, Mr. Ashwani Kumar, who will talk about the investment and the trade opportunities here in India. And hopefully our friends from the Netherlands can benefit from this. So a few things about Mr. Ashwani is the managing partner of Victor Forgings, which is a top supplier of hand and allied tools in Jalandhar. He has ventured to Europe, USA, Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia since 1979 for the expansion of his business. And recently, he was elected as regional chairman for the northern region of the Federation of Indian Export Organizations. Mr. Ashwani was also the deputy regional chairman of Engineering Export Promotion Council, Northern Region, from the year 2004 to 2010. And he is the secretary of Jalandhar Effluent Treatment Society and chairman of Jalandhar Management Association, and also the secretary of Hand Tools Manufacturers Association. And in the realm of sports, he was the honorary secretary of District Badminton Association in Jalandhar. And Mr. Ashwani is an active member at the July' Chapter Integrated Association of SMEs in India as well. So it's good to have you again today, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My very good evening to everybody on this webinar. I think I must say a few words before I say further about MSME. Holland being my favorite country throughout. The first time I visited Holland when there was a visa from India and all way back in 1979 and 80. And after that, I continued to visit Holland because my only charm was the milk and the flowers. And there is the best flowers of the world are in Holland. Also, I traveled a lot of times from Holland to England by this boat. So, for that matter, I will say I have listened all the dignitaries, and we have very good chance to have business with Holland. You see, India today uh, has done a lot in MSME sector, and we are thankful to the present government who has really uh, made a change in definition of MSME after 2006. Before was a very limited investment, and uh, it continued because that time, if I say the value of a rupee was, let's say, for example, one rupee to one, but the steel price was 9 rupees a kilo, which is today steel prices is about 45 rupees a kilo. And then we all got together from throughout India, and we met ministers and the prime minister. We made a request. So our request was taken up very well, and we gave a scope that if you change this definition, India can really do better in this MSME. Today, as we all know, every country is dependent on MSME sector. Like I was just listening, one of the speaker that 98% MSME industry is in Holland. Similarly, in India, about 2 years before was 56% dependency on MSME. Today, MSME is in every sector. We are working a lot for in MSME sector, for the food industry, for the engineering industry, for the this garment industry. So India also have a very big potential to start up again with the collaboration of the brands which are already there, but still there are many other brands which can come to India. Like for example, our company was established in 1954 with a very like a micro industry, but today we come into the medium industry as per today's norms, where we can invest about 6 million euro in a million in medium industry, and the turnover can be about in rupees 250,000. This about 250 crores. I have to calculate the terms of millions, but the way is very open. The chances are very big for any foreign investor to come to India and to join hands with Indian manufacturers. I give you example. The biggest tool companies like Stanley, Black and Decker, all companies they are now thinking about shifting part of their production from China to India. And Indian government also has opened their with the open hands, open arms. We are welcoming everybody to come to India. Like there's a very as it's simple in Holland, in India is also now from this 1st of July. There is a new scheme. We call it this Udyan scheme, which is very easy. You only have to have your ID number in India, and you can register your company online, paperless. You can do it. No need of paper to deposit in the banks or in the Department of MSME. And I have seen practically the government has really helped MSME sector very well by in this COVID situation. The government has given 20% extra money to the MSME industry, because we all know we all were suffering from this MSME from last this COVID from last 3 months, and like the businesses were closed from March onwards, and till now some area the business is still not open, but we are lucky in North, in Punjab, we are open, we are working 24 hours now. The situation is different. The government has allowed 20% of the straight addition loan to the MSME, which you can pay in 3 years. And this no need to sign any document in the bank. You just say yes, you need this loan from the bank, and the bank will give you immediately this money. As a matter of fact, the Holland, we have very good thinking of the both the countries, where, for example, the milk is a very big product for import from Holland to India. But at the same time, I will say, if some investor can come to India and invest in this milk industry, I think this is one of the biggest business what we have today here in India. Even floriculture is one of the largest business of the world. As you know, in Europe, you just take one flower and give gift to somebody. But in India, we need so many flowers, but we are fulfilling the need from India itself to go to the temple, and anywhere you go, there are flowers for the decorations and everything. For my mind, the best and the biggest industry is the horticulture. India is capable today of from making from a needle to warship to aeroplane to the navy ships. Why can't we offer our services from small and medium industry MSMEs, where we can join hands with the Holland MSMEs to set up their business in India, which is very easy and zero hustle. You go to any city of India, any city, I will say, any big city of India, you will find in every state 5 to 10 offices of MSME ministry. There is no need to run here or there. Just sit in one office and your company will be registered, your partners will be identified, or they can be put through you. We from in Federation of Indian Exporters Organization, we are working for this is the apex body of all the councils of India. For example, you are exporting shirts, and there's a garment council. You are exporting jewelry. There's a jewelry council. There are more than 60 councils in India from different product, from different areas, which are the members of Federation of Indian Exporters Organization, which is the apex body. We from our organization also can be the part of, as a mediator, as a helper, as a we can follow exhibitions and everything to look for the joint ventures in India from European unions, especially from Holland, which is India's favorite country from so many long years. We also have capability. We have engineering. We have medical engineering. We have every type of engineering in India. Today, yes, I will say one more thing added to it, that the water management is really required in India. And I personally would love to request you that if you can put us through some companies who can help us in cleaning the water, maybe it's from the domestic water or industrial water, which is having hazard chromes. And India really needs this type of partners from India. Although we do have good companies who are doing this work in India, but still, uh, like we say in India, the knowledge is ever ending. If somebody can add some knowledge to us, and we can be enriched with the water, which is the need of everyone in the world, that to save water is the biggest saving of your of for your kids, and we must get clean water for coming generation. Water cleaning is one subject I would definitely request to the MSME, this to Mr. Santosh and Mr. Biju, to find out some partners for in this field as well. Moreover, there's ever-ending business everywhere. In Europe, we are working in Europe. If you see in Holland, in Germany, everywhere in Europe, you have stores of Aldi, Lidl, Bauhaus, Metro, Macro. It was before. You will find all the tools which are coming from India. They are displayed everywhere, especially the spanners and the screwdrivers. This means we have a very big chance again with the collaborating with the uh, Holland companies as well. One time Holland was the base of all the European friends who used to make parties in Holland for their total buyer seller meets. We do participate in a lot of exhibitions in Europe, and Germany is of course the number one. In Cologne, there are always the exhibitions throughout the year. With this, I again thank very much uh, to the MSME team that they have invited me, and I got this opportunity to interact with you people. And I am sure with this interaction, lot of Indians, lot of members throughout the world, they can have this benefit from our discussions. And I welcome you again. Please come and invest in India. We are open. Our arms are open. Our doors are open, and the government is really, really very, very helpful at this moment, especially with the MSME sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So if the delegation from the Netherlands have any questions, we can take it up now, or we can move on to the next session. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us today. So our next session is by Mr. Neeraj Mithran, the co-founder and partner of Hola Mithran & Co., who will talk about the legal framework adhering to setting up companies in India. So Mr. Neeraj attained his bachelor's but chose to pursue chartered accountant, and he's been practicing CA since 2014. Mr. Neeraj is a managing partner and third generation chartered accountant and founding family partner at Madhavan & Co. in Mysore. And he's also the co-founder and partner at Hola Mithran & Corporation, Bangalore. He is also the non-executive director at Axiom Consulting Limited, a public limited company having branches in over 6 countries. And he was also the financial and product consultant to a couple of companies in India and North America. He has handled financial due diligence on behalf of the venture capitalists and the investee companies. His specialization is setting up companies in India for foreign business owners, including consulting on entry into India, funding for setup and initial operations. And he's an expert in direct taxes and indirect tax, business consulting, risk assessment, and due diligence for M&A, with expertise in the software industry, defense industries, and the construction industries in India. So welcome again, sir. The stage is yours.
Hello all, welcome to this session of me educating all of you. How can you set up a business in India? Business in India is pretty easy to set up. For example, I applied for the documents to be set up on Sunday and I have had the approval today morning. So it has taken us less than 48 hours to get a company set up in India. Like Mr. Ashwani Kumar just mentioned that India is open to do business with anyone and everyone. The government currently works in a way which is fast and very productive. With that good news being shared, let me just take you through to the nuances of setting up a company in India. We are all aware that the business structure can limit financial and legal risks. And in India, the greatest, when you are setting up a company in India, the greatest concern that you'll have is how do we repatriate funds abroad, or how do we move the profits from India back to your home country and enjoy your profits there. Eventually, upon sale or exit, this will eventually happen. If not today, it could happen over 100 years later. Now, getting back to the area of the structure itself, we have predominantly two structures. Beyond this, we also have in India, an Indian can set up a proprietorship concern, a partnership, a trust, association of persons, JVs, etc., along with private limited company and limited liability partnerships. The reason I've picked up only two structures here, being private limited company and a limited liability partnership, is because of one major constraint, that in any other structure, your repatriation of profits and investments may not be successfully completed. We again have, beyond these two structures, we also have JVs and foreign branches, which can be up in India. The greatest disadvantage is the taxation rate for a foreign branch in India. Now, like in any other country, India too has two predominantly good structures. One is a private limited company, which is more rigid, and a little more flexible one, which is a limited liability partnership. In both cases, we need at least two owners or two partners or two members. Just to give you a clarity that between owners and directors, owners are the actual shareholders of the company, or are the actual, they're also called as members. Directors are chosen by these members to run the show for the members or the owners of the company. Directors can be replaced any moment by the shareholders or the members. With this being said, India requires a minimum of at least two people to incorporate a company, in a private limited company, as well as two people for partnership firm. Please note that even a private limited company is considered a member. For example, if you want to set up a subsidiary in India, a Netherlands company could be one of the members in India, or two Netherlands companies itself can form members and can set up an entity in India. So getting back, the requirement is two members, which may or may not be mortals. Further, in both cases, foreign partners are allowed, as in two foreign nationals can set up a company in India. The document which confirms that your company is set up for a private limited company is an incorporation certificate, and that for an LLP is an LLP deed which is approved. There are certain issues relating to statutory audit, where in a private limited company, statutory audit is always applicable, whereas in the case of an LLP, you have certain relaxations with relation to turnover and capital. The complication of incorporation, I just said, was just 2 days. That is what I took to incorporate a company, though we usually request about 10 working days to do it in case of any issues in the incorporation or delay due to any other reason. But closure, yes, there is some difficulty. However, the government in the last couple of years have released a lot of forms to ensure that such closure procedures are reduced, and we can look at closure in about 180 days time. In both structures, repatriation of profits and principal invested is allowed. There is something called tax on dividend that's applicable in India for a private limited company only. In the case of, please note that there's an error in the slide. The tax on dividend is applicable for a private limited company and not applicable for LLP. In the case of tax dividends, it's called the dividend distribution tax, which has now been reduced to 0%. in the current budget. Earlier, it was anywhere up to 22%. So what would happen is, if a company earned 100%, if a foreign company earned 100 rupees of profits in India, we would first of all forego 22% of taxes as corporate tax, further a 22% as dividend distribution tax, and when the dividend is again repatriated to your home country, this again usually is taxable in your home country at again 30%. So technically you would lose 74% of your amount that you're repatriating back to the country of your origin. Now in this case, currently, to ensure that there is lucrativeness for foreign direct investments coming into India, the government has decided to move that tax on dividend to a rate of 0. Hence, it is a lot more lucrative for you to look at dividend and profit distribution. Further, when your company does become bigger, you always have an option to list these companies on a stock exchange in India. We have multiple foreign companies listed already, which you might already be aware. There are predominantly 2 stock exchanges, which is the NSE and the BSE, which are very well known and very well tracked. There are multiple other stock exchanges, but they may not have the same regional or international reach as these 2 stock exchanges. Now, when I say company incorporation, usually a lot of discussion is around what is it that I need to set up a company. First of all, the total number of members that is at least required is 2, and the maximum number of members that or owners that a company can have is 200 in a private limited company. However, for a public limited company, the maximum can be infinite. Please note that in India, there is a minimum requirement of 1 director to be a resident of India. A resident is one who has at least stayed 182 days or more in the country of India. This is a mandatory requirement and will be verified at the time of incorporation of the company. However, a lot of foreign companies outsource this work of a director to any other person, say maybe for example me as well, wherein a resident Indian can become a director and he will be your set of eyes for ensuring compliances do happen in India. For any incorporation of a company, as you're aware, you will have to have a name and a registered address. The name will be verified in the registrar by the registrar in the register of companies to ensure that it does not replicate any name. For example, I will not be given a name called, say, Toyota in India because Toyota is already incorporated in its name. This can be changed anytime in case you feel like changing it. The company is also required to have a registered address, and it can choose in any state in India depending on the ability or want or requirement of the company. This can also be changed. Yes, there will be some certain requirements where you have to comply and inform the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which governs the companies in India, to ensure that they are updated about it. Now, in India, all filings do happen automatically and digitally, wherein all forms are in the form of PDF, which will be editable and will be signed off by using something called a digital signature certificate. This digital signature certificate is not your soft copy of your signature, but it is basically your thumb drive. This thumb drive will have certain specific information about your personality, like your passport ID, your driving license, or your PAN number if you're an Indian, and stuff like that. And it will be verified with a hash function every time you insert this thumb drive and authenticated document. This pen drive will have a login ID and password, which can be used to authenticate any document in India while filing these documents to any government authority. For incorporation, you will definitely require a professional to sign it. A professional could be a company secretary, a chartered accountant, a cost accountant, and a lawyer. One of the 4 will sign off for incorporation of the company. Now, this is the time for you to be more attentive, wherein I'm going to disclose what kind of documentation that you need to set up your company in India. Netherlands, in this very specific case, is not a Commonwealth country, and however, it is a signatory to the Hague's Apostille Convention. What does it mean? When it is not a Commonwealth country, not only the notarization is required, but an apostilling is also needed. Since Netherlands is a signatory to the Hague Convention of Apostille, you can get these documents apostilled in Netherlands and share the copy to Indian registrar when it will be held acceptable. Repeating, you will have to first get the documents notarized and then apostilled and then share it with Indian authorities to incorporate your company. Now, when I say documents, what kind of documents? Your passport is always mandatory for incorporating any company, along with which you will need a driving license and a bank statement. If you have this, it should be more or less sufficient. For obtaining the digital signature certificate, the hard copies or the original copies that are notarized and apostilled are required in India. For any other process, a soft copy should be sufficient. Now, before we move further, there is something called an automatic route and an approval route. In India, any foreign company can incorporate in any sector in India when it is in the automatic route. If it is falling under a sector which requires an approval route, a prior approval is needed for setting up a company. Now, the sectors that are identified, for example, in the prior approval route are the defense sector, the railways, the insurance, construction, banking, and multi-brand retail. Now, when I say defense, there is a cap of 74%. So, for example, two Netherlands guys can actually incorporate a company in India up to 74% of ownership in India, and balance 26% will have to be mandatory and Indian owning it. For example, a company in Netherlands, company A, and an individual in India, person B, can incorporate a company in the defense sector with a profit sharing ratio or the ownership ratio at 74-26. Anything greater than this will require a specific approval from the Reserve Bank of India and the central government. Similarly, in the construction industry, the current rate is 0%, as in no person is allowed to enter into India at all without prior approval, excluding a specific case where your minimum investment is over $100 million. There are specific rules and conditions in this area, including multi-brand retail. Now, what would multi-brand retail do? You would come in as a multi-brand, but you cannot sell retail. So you will end up selling only to business transactions. For example, a company in Netherlands can come into India and sell any brand of product, but it cannot sell to an end consumer. It has to sell it to a business. So there are provisions such as this, and which can be easily complied as well, provided you have certain clarity on how to implement this, and this is done by a lot of companies in India. However, if you remember, I just did say multi-brand retail. So what happens to single brand retail? Suppose a company which is a manufacturer of helmets in Netherlands can sell only its brand of helmet in India to the consumers as well, no questions asked. But however, when you see in the automatic route, like the information technology or automobile manufacturing, computer manufacturing, and stuff like that, say financial consulting, architectural consulting, and anything like that, 100% approval is already predefined, and you do not have to seek any prior approval at all. So you just share the documents, and a chartered accountant or a lawyer can set up this company in India with very little hassle. Now, for a company or LLP, usually there are three laws that govern. One being the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which helps you in incorporating the company, and you file your annual reports and certain transaction-based information with the MCA, like change of name, change of the registered address, and stuff like that will be filed with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The annual filing will be your balance sheets and profit and loss accounts on a yearly basis. The second one being the Reserve Bank of India, which will require you to file a form with it on a transaction basis when a first capital comes in. This will also ensure that it covers the automatic or prior approval route in the sectoral caps that are available. Apart from this, there is one other form, which is an annual filing form, which discloses your assets and liabilities in India for such a foreign company. Finally, the most important things, this is what governs the taxation in India. Basically, Indian tax laws are divided into direct and indirect tax. The direct tax is covered by the Indian Income Tax Act of 1961, and the indirect tax law is covered by multiple laws, predominantly with the Customs Tariff Act and the GST Act. The good part about the GST Act, which is currently in force, is that there does not require you to have a different consultant for every location that you have. Suppose a company from the Netherlands wants to incorporate a company in Bangalore and also wants to have a branch in, say, Hyderabad and Bombay and Delhi. You do not require 4 consultants to work for it, but however, only one consultant can work on it from any of these locations and still comply, because all laws have been unified countrywide. This gives a lot of flexibility in planning and being on top of things at the time of filing or compliances that is needed, including at the times of business planning. Please note that these are predefined and there are prescribed timelines for all activities. There are relaxations or tightened timelines based on the government's requirement. For example, on account of COVID, everything is being pushed for a quarter, a month, or abstract amount of time, as depending on the requirement of the government or the comfort that is needed for the citizens of the country. Now, if you say you incorporate your company, what do you get by incorporation? You get an incorporation certificate. You get your memorandum of association, articles of association, which define what are the responsibilities of the owners of the members of the company towards the company, and what are the responsibilities of directors and the company itself towards the owners and the all stakeholders. You also do get the share certificate, which authenticates your hold on such company. Under the Income Tax Act or the Direct Tax Act, you get the permanent account number through which you can do all your filings, and a tax deduction account number for completing your withholding of taxes. The RBI, once you file the required forms, you will get a unique identification number for filing for the funds that you've received from abroad. Now, after registration, there are a couple of other registrations that you may require for setting up a company or post setting up the company to start up business. One will be the region-specific registrations, which are extremely mundane and should not cost much. It need not be considered as a major cost factor. There will be certain employee-related registrations, majorly Employee Provident Fund and the State Employee State Insurance Act, wherein if you cross a minimum threshold of 20 members, Employee Provident Fund becomes mandatory, and if you cross the limit of 10 members, 10 employees, you will be requiring this ESI mandatorily. Usually, general health insurance is covered by employers as a practice in India. However, it's mandated by law now once the COVID, after the onset of COVID. Now, what happens in the Employee Provident Fund is that employer is expected to contribute 12% of the salary towards the fund. There are specific calculations how the salary is computed, what is basic and other things, but usually you can assume it at 12%. This can be always reduced with the help of a professional who can help you tailor make it to your company itself. The ESI itself, you will end up paying, the employer will end up contributing 3% of the employee's salary towards such scheme. Usually what happens, all these contributions of the employer is covered under the cost of company, CTC itself. So it is a normal standard practice that the CTC usually covers the employee and the employer's contribution, and this is well accepted in India. So this should not be a major cost constraint for you, as in it is already covered under the CTC. There are certain tax registrations that are required, like the GST registration that I did just mention, and the Import-Export License Code. Code is mandatory for exporters and importers of goods. However, it's not mandatory for service providers and service importers. But India as a country provides a lot of incentives for companies which are exporting goods and services. For example, if I end up exporting milk and milk-based products from India, the government pays approximately 3% of the total value of exports. Suppose I do $100 sale or export, I will get $3 additionally from the Indian government towards such exports completed. This is a very good lucrative. This can be added over our profits. These are in the form of incentives, and hence it can be added to the profit. Further, this is also being taken advantage of during costing of the company itself, or the while tendering for a foreign agreements or something, wherein you can take this advantage of a future incentive claim that you may have. I will just skip this slide because it's more mundane and I just covered this. Finally, we should identify what are the limitations of directors. There are multiple laws that are entrusting responsibilities of directors, and any act done by the director beyond his capacity is accountable by him under the law. Now, the directors will always be liable for any act done beyond their powers. Doing any act which is not done diligently or honestly, any fraud transactions, any false statement written in the prospectus or in front of any authority, government authority, and criminal liability can also be imposed for non-payment of taxes. So there's some amount of responsibility that is available on the directors. Yes, you have certain insurances also available to protect the financial risks of the directors, but any prosecution risks may not be taken care of by insurance. Now, getting back, I did just brush across about the foreign branches and the JVs. These are as well very useful units in case you want to test waters. For example, Renault entered into India with a JV partner in Mahindra and then set up its company. The Ford in India is planning to get out by setting up a JV partner in Mahindra and exiting the country. So JVs are a very important structure in the country itself and explore. And the taxation may not be as lucrative as a regular setup of a private limited company. Getting back, the general structure of tax laws has been very stable for the last half a decade or so, and it is only improving with time. The lag in filing anything or compliance is drastically reduced because of use of extensive technology, and the country is moving pretty fast. With this said, I would like to install confidence in you to ensure that India is a very good opportunity for you to grow your business because of one of the greatest advantages, demography. You have 65% of the workforce below the age of 35, and we are a young population as a country as a whole. And the population itself is a great consumer of the products and services that is being generated in India. With this, I would also inform you that we take up any area of corporate taxation, investments, filing, name it in the area of finance, we take care. We also help in the setting up of real estate space in case you need in India. We also provide directorship services in case you want to outsource the Indian director itself and a lot of areas. We are a team of around 35 people in 25-30 people in Bangalore and about 25 people in Mysore. And we have about 40 consultants in various areas of taxation and law, and including legal consultants. With this, I would like to pause for Q&A sessions, if you have any.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Neeraj. It was really an elaborate presentation and especially catered, I think, to the companies in the Netherlands. So, does our delegation from the Netherlands have any question for Mr. Neeraj? Ms. Olga, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. No, it's very clear. Thank you very much. It's a very nice, interesting presentation. Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, I think we'll move to the closing. So now I request Mr. Biju Balagopal, who is the National Deputy Joint Secretary of CIMSME, to sum up today's session.
Sure. Thank you, Mishma. So first of all, a big thanks to the delegation from Netherlands and to the Indian speakers. So it was really nice to note about the language advantage and the tax benefits in terms of VAT and the withholding tax benefits and the IP protection policies and the ease of setting up and doing business in Netherlands. So thanks for enlightening us with those. So we have noted down the specific opportunities that we have in the agro, food and horticulture sectors, logistics, high-tech and smart city, health sector, and the green energy sector, and also IT. So great to know about that. Again, it was nice to observe that MSMEs play a significant role in the economy of Netherlands, very similar to what we have in India. And the focus on innovation and facilities like startup visa facilitators, these are great opportunities for the Indian startups, and we can leverage those. I hope the startups have taken note of the same. And again, thanks to Ashwani Kumar sir for talking about the investment opportunities in India, and Mr. Neeraj for talking about the Indian side of company incorporation and other regulatory elements. So thank you very much. Looking forward to have a better more and fruitful engagement with all the participants here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Biju. And so with that, we've come to the end of the Global Leadership Dialogue with the Netherlands. So again, on behalf of CIMSME and the GCPIT, I take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt appreciation and gratitude towards Mr. Jan Jodema, Ms. Olga Zelina, Mr. Dimitri Derkak, and Dr. Irina Bierman for helping us to understand the opportunities in the Netherlands, especially for the MSMEs and also the legal aspects that come with it. So this has definitely piqued interest among our entrepreneurs, and we hope for a fruitful collaboration in the near future. So thank you very much for being with us. And also special thanks again to our Indian expert speakers, Mr. Ashwani Kumar and Mr. Neeraj Mithran, for sharing such invaluable information with our friends in the Netherlands. So with that, we come to the end of the program. And I also thank the participants for patiently being with us till the end, and also our State Council members for supporting us. Please do join us again on the 9th of July with our dialogue with Sri Lanka. So till then, good night.
Good night.
Yes. Stay
Thank
home,
you.
be safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.